whatever you wind up doing is exactly what you should be doing.
And I have not behaved one single day of my life. Not one day of my life have I behaved, and I am fine.
I need your help. I can't tell you what it is. You can never ask me about it later, and we're gonna hurt some people.
Whose car are we gonna take?
After Indictment Day, people. Hello, happy Friday. Great show coming up. John Rothmann will be joining me in just a moment. He was one of the first people I thought of when we heard the news yesterday. Pretty much came out right when our show ended yesterday that Trump was being indicted, more than 30 counts. So we'll get into those with John Rothmann in just a moment because I'm very excited to get his take. And if we have time, I want to also touch on Gavin Newsom's announcement yesterday. We mentioned it during the show, but Gavin Newsom coming out with this campaign for democracy and, calling out things such as, women's rights, people of color, obviously the mass shootings and gun reform. And then obviously now the backdrop of a former president for the very first time being indicted. So we'll get into all of that. Also, it's a Friday food. Friday, we eat on Fridays. I did go out to Milohas with the Colombian empanadas. I got some. They're warming. They're sitting in a warm oven right now. So we will give those a try later on in the show. And then, of course, it's Friday. So we also do movies with Tim Sika. And he'll tell us what to watch, what to avoid if we want to go into the movies or stream something at home. But before we get to any of that, please click the thumbs up button to show your support of the show. We love it. YouTube loves it. Our super chat is live. Just look for the $ right under the live chat conversation that's happening within the community. And then I love our growing community. So if you can be a monthly subscriber to our Patreon, please do. There is our show website, thenikkimedoroshow.com. thenikkimedoroshow.com. And we often have people joining our Patreon during the show or even bumping up their monthly donations. And so I will give you live shout outs in addition to those that donate to the super chat feature as well. And then, of course, we have the merchandise that's available. You see some of it behind my shoulder, thenikkimedoroshop.com, thenikkimedoroshop.com. All right, we got all the business out of the way. Let me welcome my friend, John Rothmann, to the show. I mean, it is a good day, my friend. It is a good day that hopefully, no one is above the law is the phrase that I'm constantly hearing.
Well, it's a good day for American democracy. It shows that the justice system works. And many of our listeners, whether we were KGO or on podcasts, were cynical. They said, it'll never happen. He's going to get away with it. No, he's not. There will be an indictment. We haven't read the counts. And you have to understand, I've heard that there are 42 separate items or 32. It's been varied reports. So whatever the number actually is on Tuesday, we will have a chance to review those indictments and see what the grand jury came to. But he also has Georgia. He also has the question of what the Justice Department is going to bring forward. And he also has his Mar-a-Lago situation. So if I were Donald Trump, I would not be a happy man today.
No, I don't think that he's happy. But the narrative that I keep hearing, John, is this only helps him. There is no such thing as bad publicity in the Trump world.
I disagree. Because it is not just the Trump world. He has to be able to expand his base. If he's going to be a viable candidate for the presidency of the United States in November 2024, his base is not enough to win. Is it enough to win the Republican nomination for president? Perhaps. But that would be, I think, a disaster for the Republican Party. And I think you're hearing that from, look at the silence from Republicans in the United States Senate, the leadership there. It is true that Lindsey Graham is defending Donald Trump, but he's the exception, not the rule. And in the House of Representatives, Speaker McCarthy owes Donald Trump up the kazoo. That's how he became Speaker of the House, at least in his mind. So the House Republicans are interesting. But you know what really amazes me? First, the question. Did Donald Trump authorize money for a payoff to Stormy Daniels? No one seems to want to ask that question. That's the question. Did he do it? And if he did, then his voters, those conservative Christians and the base of the Republican Party, are going to have to decide whether this is the kind of person who they want to see in the White House.
Oh, come on, John. I mean, if the grab him by the pee didn't, stop these people from voting for him.
This is very different because this is a candidate for president of the United States in 2016 on the eve of the election, authorizing a payment in order to pay hush money. That is a profoundly different situation. It's one thing to offer an opinion that's a little nuts, which you and I may do on the air on occasion. It is quite another thing when you pay people off. And if Donald Trump paid for silence, well, that's the same thing Richard Nixon did with hush money in Watergate. Mrs. Hunt, the plane crashed. There was all that money in her handbag. It was designed as hush money. And that is what this was. So that's the real question. And I listened to everybody talking about it. Nobody asked the Republicans a simple question. Did he do it? And is that a disqualification to be president of the United States? I believe it is. Because if a president of the United States is paying hush money, that's hardly a person you want to have in the White House. And more than that, the Republican Party has to take a look at itself. Does the Republican Party want to have a leader who pays hush money to a porn star?
Yes. Yes, they do. I don't know this Republican Party. You are asking these questions, John, as if the Republican Party has not jumped the shark, as if they have not said, that's okay, that's okay, that's okay with the former president's deeds while he was in office. Why do you think they're going to have this come to Jesus or whatever moment now with this? I mean, it seems far-fetched with the Republican Party that we're dealing with nowadays.
But if the Republican Party wants to survive as a viable national political party, which impacts the nation and which can win the White House, they're going to have to make those adjustments. Donald Trump is not going to be there forever. He's in his late 70s. He's a man who clearly has innumerable legal problems. We haven't even confronted the questions about January 6th. And I was very interested to see that Mike Pence, it appears, is going to give testimony. He's been subpoenaed, and the court ruled that he can testify and should testify. And last night, Mike Pence made clear on CNN that he will comply with the law. So you've got a president of the United States, or a man who was president, who is violating all the norms. And the Republican Party, I have to believe in the redemption of the Republican Party. Otherwise, what are you left with? A one-party system in this country? I don't want to see that. Do you?
I don't. And I was literally saying those exact words yesterday. There should be a checks and balances in this country and within our government. But this Republican Party needs to clean house. They need to expel, or we have to stop supporting lawmakers that really don't believe in the rule of law. They stand there. We're the party of law and order. We believe that no one's above the law unless it's Trump. Unless they can stand up and say, he's gone too far, he doesn't have my support. I see the hem and haw. And if they ask that exact question, do you believe that he paid hush money to pay off Stormy Daniels? They're going to be like, well, let's let the evidence play out. You know how it's going to be.
We will find out on Tuesday how strong a case this is. If there are, as the speculation is, 34 counts, let's take a look at them. Let's analyze them. And the Republican Party will have to do the same. You know what was also equally stunning to me is how can you say it's all poppycock if you've never read the indictment?
Yeah.
I mean, if this is a party that believes in law and order, if this is a party that believes in government run by law, if they believe in an independent judiciary, they sure as heck better look at the indictment before they make comments about it.
Compare this, because I'm seeing it online all the time, to what happened with Hillary Clinton and the email server. A lot of people are saying, Hillary Clinton got away with it. This isn't the same. Explain the difference to people, because there was no indictment of Hillary Clinton. There were some grand jury subpoenas issued that the FBI admitted to, but nothing came of that, even after the hours of testimony that she gave before Congress and all of that.
Nikki, I have a simple question. Was Hillary Clinton ever president of the United States?
True, no. She wanted to be.
Did Hillary Clinton ever pay hush money?
Not that I know of.
No, of course not. So you asked the differences. Somebody asked me, well, Richard Nixon wasn't indicted. And my answer was, that's because he was pardoned by Gerald Ford. If Richard Nixon had not been pardoned, he would have been indicted. And if the day before he left office, Bill Clinton had not accepted the deal offered by the independent counsel, in which he had to pay a fine, in which he had to suspend his law license, in which he had to really give up practice before the Supreme Court, he would have been indicted. No one is above the law. And the issue, some people say, well, they ought to have taken other matters more seriously and put them first. No, that's not the way it works. Each grand jury works on its own time schedule. This is not a coordinated effort. Donald Trump has problems on multiple fronts because he broke the law. And I'm going to say that up front. Absolutely. You know, somebody asked me about January 6th. I said, okay, why were people in Washington on January 6th? It's the same question about, did he pay hush money? It's Donald Trump. It's Donald Trump. Without Donald Trump, these issues wouldn't even exist. And by the way, Nikki, if you've never read the January 6th report, you should. And everybody who's listening to the sound of our voice should listen to it and read it, because it's a scathing indictment. Now, I can't tell you what will happen on Tuesday. I can't tell you whether the indictment is substantive, whether it's based on hearsay. I don't know. But I can tell you this, that we're going to have to read it, examine it, and then make judgments.
I'm so tired, John, and I know that you are as well, as everything being politicized. And just as you said, let's read what's in the indictment. Let's see what the counts are. But it's hard to separate the politics from something like this, especially because Trump is a nominee in the next presidential, he's a candidate in the next presidential election. So how do we, when he's campaigning, separate the two? And how soon does he have to, I guess, or be forced to stop campaigning? Because they're saying this could take more than a year to get through.
My answer is I'm not tired, first of all. Not tired at all, because I believe in the American system. I've said that to you before. I said it on the air. I believe that the system ultimately works. I want to remind you that the Watergate break-in took place in June of 1972. Richard Nixon did not resign until August of 1974. That the pardon wasn't granted until September of 1974. I do not believe that Gerald Ford's pardon of Richard Nixon was wrong. I thought it was right, healed the country. And I don't think Donald Trump will receive a pardon. I'll tell you what I think the precedent will be. If you go back and you look at your history, Eugene V. Debs, who received 1 million votes when he ran for president in 1920 as the socialist candidate for president, he was in jail for sedition. And in the end, Warren Harding, a conservative Republican president, didn't grant him a pardon. He granted him clemency, meaning the conviction stood and he was allowed to get out of prison. And that was on the eve of Christmas. That's what's going to happen with Donald Trump. He'll never go to jail, nor should he go to jail. The history here is made by the determination of the courts. And was he in fact guilty? And remember, we're not just talking about one case. We're talking about a variety of cases. I never get tired. And I don't think the American people get tired, because our democracy is at stake. Who we are as a people, as a nation, is at stake. And we can't get tired, and we can't stop talking about it. And I have to tell you, I have great faith in the American people. I have great faith in Republicans, many of whom I speak with on a regular basis, who are as disgusted as Democrats. Their question is, how do we get rid of Donald Trump without inflicting damage on our party? Because we know that 30 to 40% of Republican voters really are Trump voters, and they've got to get beyond Donald Trump. But no, I lived through Watergate. I lived through Richard Nixon. I've seen the worst of the worst. Nothing, by the way, is as bad as what Donald Trump has done. And I think that also is clear. Richard Nixon, by comparison, is a saint. And at least Nixon had respect for the Constitution. I don't think Donald Trump has respect for the Constitution. I think he has complete contempt for the way the American system works. And may I say a word about Mike Pence? I listened to Mike Pence last night on CNN. I'm no fan of Mike Pence. I've disagreed with Mike Pence on virtually everything. And if you listened to him last night when he talked about issues, believe me, I'm against him. But Mike Pence on January 6th saved the country from a major crisis. And I do believe one thing. If Mike Pence is put on the stand under oath, and remember, he is a devout Christian, if Mike Pence is put on the stand, he will tell the truth. And I think he understands that he has no choice in doing that. So I have great faith in the system. I continue to believe it will work. And most important of all, Nikki, when we do this show again 30 years from now, Donald Trump will be judged harshly by the American people and history.
I would hope
May I
so.
also put one other thing out to you?
Yes.
Still, about 30% of the American people believe that Richard Nixon did nothing wrong. And that is despite the fact that there are tapes, that there was never an indictment because of the pardon. But Richard Nixon, when he accepted the pardon from Gerald Ford, had to say that he admitted that he had done things wrong, that he'd made mistakes. I think that we have to bear in mind that Donald Trump is not a man who admits error, but I do believe he'll face justice. And I believe, based on what I know and having read the January 6th report, having seen this business with Stormy Daniels unfold as we've watched it unfold, he's guilty. He's guilty. And I would remind people, ask that one question. Did Donald Trump authorize hush money payments? Did he? And I think the answer is unequivocally yes.
So why don't you think he should go to jail? I mean, why just because what it would do to the country? Or, I mean, Michael Cohen went to jail. I know that he was his fixer. So why shouldn't Trump go to jail?
Because Michael Cohen was never president of the United States. There is no greater burden that you carry with you if you are president of the United States than the burden of the judgment of history. Lyndon Johnson is a great example, who in many ways was a great president of the United States, and he was a great president on many levels. But he left the White House broken because of the mistakes and the errors and, yes, the disinformation that he spewed. I think I don't need to see a president in jail. What I need to see is the truth revealed in history. And frankly, I would like to see a day when only 30% of Republicans still believe in Donald Trump. May I make one other point? Mike Pence last night made a difference between Donald Trump, the man, and Donald Trump, the policies. Now, I'm no supporter of Donald Trump. Those of you who've listened to me over the years know that. I'm willing to take on Donald Trump's policies any day of the week. But it is a correct judgment to make that Republicans, by and large, embrace the political positions of Donald Trump. And what they want is Donald Trump's policies without Donald Trump. And whoever runs for president, whether it's Mike DeSantis, whether it's Mike Pence, whether it's Nikki Haley, whoever is the nominee of the Republican Party, Mike Pompeo, I have to include in that number as well, who was Secretary of State, National Security Advisor to Donald Trump. They're going to embrace the policies that he articulated, trying to separate themselves from him. And I think that also is very significant. I don't mind Republicans believing what they believe, even if I disagree with him. I think it's easier to knock them down when you can make a real case. Why do you think that the Democrats control the Senate today? And why do you think the Republicans only have a 4-vote majority in the House of Representatives? Because the American people did not accept the basic Republican premises. And I believe in a national election, they will make their judgment. Let me say a quick word about Gavin Newsom. I don't know how much time we have. I have nothing to do.
Go ahead, my friend. Go ahead.
I'm unemployed, you know.
What a coincidence. Oh, my.
What Gavin Newsom is doing, whatever he says, is he's setting up a structure to run for president of the United States. If something happens to Joe Biden, Kamala Harris becomes president, I do not think Gavin Newsom will challenge Kamala Harris. I think he's made that clear.
I don't either. Yeah.
But if circumstances evolve, and you never know how circumstances are going to evolve, Gavin Newsom is ready to try to seize the national spotlight. And California will have to make its own judgment. But let me also explain what I think is very important for people to understand. Every time I turn on Fox, and you all know I suffer from low blood pressure, so in order to stimulate myself,
You're nuts.
I watch Fox. Every time they blast Kamala Harris, I believe very strongly that what they really do is to reinforce the fact that they're afraid of her. If Kamala Harris is the incumbent president, God forbid, something happens to Joe Biden, she will be a formidable candidate. Make no mistake. And people who underestimate her make the same mistake they made in underestimating Harry Truman, for instance. They used to say to err is Truman. And Truman is now ranked as a near great president. or a great president. I don't know how history will judge Kamala Harris, but she's not a fool. The first radio talk show she ever appeared on was mine. I've known her over the years. I have a very high regard for her. And being vice president is not easy. there's no win in any situation. Right. And so if you want to talk about the vice presidency, we can do that as well. It's a thankless job in many, many respects. And so my sense is that Kamala Harris will be renominated. Joe Biden's going to keep her on the ticket. If Joe Biden wants renomination, there's nobody who can stop him from getting renomination. If something should happen to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris becomes president, she will be the nominee in 2024. The last incumbent vice president to become president who was denied the nomination was 1884. It was Chester Alan Arthur. We don't throw out, and remember, Ronald Reagan tried to displace Gerald Ford. And let me remind you that Teddy Kennedy tried to displace Jimmy Carter. It's very hard when you are the president of the United States to be displaced. So that's the way I see it. I could be wrong. I was just remarking to Ellen, my wife, that today is March 31st. I spent March 31st, 1968 with Richard Nixon in Milwaukee. And Julie and David Eisenhower were there, and they had not yet married. Richard was there, and Mrs. Nixon. And we had several thousand people come through to shake Dick Nixon's hand. And after the reception, Nixon was going back to New York that night. I went back to Madison, Wisconsin. And I got there, and it was the night that Lyndon Johnson announced he wasn't going to run for president. If you had suggested that to me an hour before, 10 minutes before, I would have said impossible. So the one thing I've learned about American politics is anything is possible. Any circumstance can arise. And that's why it's so much fun to be live, whether it's on the Nikki Medoro program or in my own mission.
There you go. I mean, as far as Gavin, I think you're absolutely right. I don't think he's running in 2024. It was quite interesting, though, how he's kind of positioning himself. And the reputation of California across the country varies widely. I mean, John, we're often seen as just this kind of, in some circles, crazy, hedonistic state where laws are not followed and there's just drug addicts and homeless people all over the place. How do you think Gavin Newsom, just kind of looking in your crystal ball, is going to play this in the future? Obviously not in 2024, unless, as you say, something happens. But, 4 years after that.
Well, first of all, let me tell you, Gavin Newsom is a fellow San Franciscan. He was my supervisor for 8 years, District 2 here in San Francisco. I knew his father very well. I've known him over the years. He is a resilient candidate. This is a guy who went from being supervisor to being mayor to being lieutenant governor of California, then governor of California. This is not a man who is to be treated lightly. And what he's doing is building his reputation. And let me tell you, what you think about something today may be completely different tomorrow. Remember, Ronald Reagan ran for governor and they thought he was just an actor, right? So you have to
But across the country, a California governor being accepted by people all across the country to become president.
Well, it's happened before and it could happen again. I really believe that. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I do. I obviously, a lot, not all of Gavin Newsom's policies. I think that he is, for lack of a better word, brave for coming out and kind of being on the forefront of everything from, gay marriage to obviously coming out with this campaign for democracy. But with Kamala
and the environment. Don't forget the
environment. Yes, absolutely.
This is a guy who has, in a sense, been ahead of his time. So is Jerry Brown.
Yeah.
And I want to remind you, when Jerry Brown ran for president of the United States the first time in 1976, he won 4 primaries, and nobody thought he had a chance of a snowball in hell. And so you never know. Ronald Reagan was viewed by most Americans as a lightweight. You know what they told me when I worked for Nixon? Don't worry about Reagan. He can't be elected. He's just an actor. Or he's too conservative. Or the Republican base won't accept him. Right. So the most important single thing about politics is we have to be flexible in our analysis. I can give you a momentary shot, but I can't tell you what it will be in a month or in a year or in 4 years. And so that's why it's not that I keep my powder dry, it's that I'm being completely candid with people who are listening. I think that Gavin Newsom is a formidable contender if he chooses to run. Let me explain to you one other thing, though. He has an obstacle in Kamala Harris. You cannot have two leaders from the same state running against each other. At one point here in California, in 1958, we had Vice President Richard Nixon. The minority leader of the United States Senate was William F. Noland, and the governor of California was Goodwin Knight. And they were rivals. They were rivals. And in the end, Noland and Knight were knocked out because they both lost in the 58 election after they tried to play musical chairs. And Nixon was left standing. You have to have a united state behind you when you run. And I think what we now have, if Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom were ever to run at the same time, it would be a real confrontation. So I think they both want to avoid that at all costs. And I can tell you the California Democratic Party wants to avoid that at all costs. So we'll see how that.
What about on the Republican side with DeSantis and Trump, though? I mean, if they both run, I feel like they're just going to peel votes from each other. I mean, it's really going to come down to policy versus face and popularity. What do you think?
I listened and watched this morning to CNN. I've been watching CNN, Fox, MSNBC because I'm a junkie, okay? And I admit to being a junkie.
Of course you are.
They had an anti-Trump ad, or rather an anti-DeSantis ad run by the Trump organization on CNN. Can you believe it? And we are that far away from an election.
Oh, he hates
DeSantis, by the way, scares me because if you take a look at what he's done with schools, if you take a look at what he's doing now to move library books from library shelves, I mean, this to me is scary politics. I do not believe that DeSantis is a viable candidate for president at this moment. The other thing you have to remember is the clash between DeSantis and Trump, even if Trump vanished tomorrow, the simple fact is the Trump voters won't forgive DeSantis for what he has done to Trump. And his statement yesterday that he would not extradite Trump from Florida to New York may have been a way to mollify that crowd. But if I were a Republican today, I would be looking for an alternative. Asa Hutchinson of Arkansas has been pretty good. And I don't agree with him on anything, and I'd never vote for him for president. But he's separated himself and done it in a gentle way. Mike Pence certainly can't be discounted. Let me tell you, Mike Pence is a formidable candidate in many ways. The religious right loves Mike Pence. If he were to run for the Republican nomination for president, he would have a real substantial block there. But right now, the Republican Party is so dominated by Donald Trump, and the Democratic Party is so dominated by Joe Biden that there is no real room yet for those kinds of discussions. So we'll see what happens.
John, I adore having you on. Again, you were one of the first people I thought of when I heard the news yesterday. I really appreciate you coming on, and the door's always open. I'll be ringing you not too late, not too early, but I'll get you back on the show again.
May I say, Nikki Medoro, you know that I think the world of you, and I want all of your listeners to know there really is no place I would rather be at this hour than on the Nikki Medoro program.
Thank you, John. You have a good weekend, and we'll talk soon.
Good.
Bye. Bye. Yeah. So there's John Rothmann. Let's welcome Kim McAllister and her sexy voice to the show. I love the fact, Kim, that you were on it yesterday. You're the one that actually broke the news to me because I was at my kid's school. I wasn't checking my phone. I don't know if I have Kim yet. Kim, are you here? Because you're muted.
I'm here.
There you are. Yeah. You broke the news because I was at my kid's school yesterday, and I was like, oh my goodness gracious, if I was home, we would have hopped on. But it seems to me that this news, the way people are reacting to it is solely along partisan lines, and it sucks. I wish it was the way that John was just saying, let's read the indictment, let's see what's in it, and go on from there. But sadly, I think it's going to be a circus on Tuesday. It's going to be ridiculous.
I think it is. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene has called for protests for her thousands of followers. I think that what Trump put on Truth Social last night was very dangerous as far as, kind of stirring up more civil unrest. And I'm worried.
I mean, I did read this headline that, it was today, but New York PD has ordered every officer of every rank to show up in uniform. But that was an order that was put out today. I'm assuming it's going to be a standing order until if and when Trump turns himself in, which many are saying is Tuesday. But the timeline here,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to want to, telegraph exactly when he's going to be there. Does he want all the cameras there? I would say yes. Does look pretty bad for the guy. So I don't know, but it's going to be popcorn popping time next week whenever Trump seems to turn himself in. So
I think
we'll
a
keep
lot
an
of
eye on it.
people heard what John Rothman was saying and were disappointed. Not with John Rothman per se, but just that he's saying that there won't be a Trump in prison, that there won't be some type of big final comeuppance for everything he's put the country through. And I think a lot of people, need that to say, you can't act like this and get away with it,
Right.
president or not. You've got to go to jail, dude. And so it's hard to hear that he won't be held accountable for a lot of people.
Well, and of course that's John's opinion, and I guess we'll see. I mean, no former president has ever been indicted, so who knows? No former president has ever been in prison, but it could happen. And I don't believe anybody's above the law. I think that if you commit a crime, it doesn't matter whether you're the current or former I guess current. We answered that question during the last one, but I do think that Trump, if he's convicted, if he's found guilty, he should get the same prison sentence as anybody else that had done the same crime, but just wasn't president. Because what message does that send future presidential candidates? Just become president and you can get away with murder because it's too hard for the country to accept that there was a president that committed a crime. In this day and age, that's not far of a stretch.
Then we have elevated our president to be too good for that, right? We're America is too good to put someone in office who's a criminal, who's corrupt. That happens in other countries and creates cleavages in other countries. It doesn't happen in America. And so what does it say about the fact that it is happening in America and that voters did put him in office in 2016? What does it say about who we are as a country and whether or not we've devolved? And are those scary things to start having to think about America? And will he avoid prison just so we don't have to go there?
Yeah, it's I don't know. I am scared for next week. Who was it? And stars. I kind of want to see a Trump car chase. It's gonna be like the OJ, where he's just like a slow rolling in his limo and just not pulling over. He'll have his blinker on the whole entire time. I don't know. It's serious. I just think it's become such a circus with this guy. It's insane. Okay, I am gonna go to the kitchen because I have some stuff warming in the oven. Kim McAllister is going to do some news headlines. When I come back, I visited Milohas, which is a Colombian empanada and sweets place for our Friday food segment. So I'll bring some of it out. I got a whole box full of food. I didn't heat up everything because I told my husband where I was going and he told me to pick him up a couple of empanadas. So I'm not heating up theirs or his, but I do have the guava finger. And I have a different empanada. I did not get any meat for myself, so be proud of me, vegetarians. So we'll do that. Also coming up, Tim Sika in the second part of the show. We'll have some other food news from my favorite Taco Bell, Krispy Kreme. Oh, and then here's a fun question. I went down the rabbit hole that you guys can think about in the comments while Kim does her news. In the age of Uber and Lyft, should people stop asking other people to take them to the airport? You guys answer that question for me.
That's hard.
Should you just, you can get a ride. You just have to pay for it. But should you stop asking people to take you or pick you up from the airport? There's a great article about it. And the rabbit hole of comments was pretty funny. So let me know what you think. Click that thumbs up button. We absolutely love it. I'll also give some shout outs to people that have been donating already to our super chat. And again, the NikkiMedoroShow.com is where you can become a Patreon subscriber or even bump up your monthly donation that we depend on because we are 100% crowd funded on the Nikki Medoro Show. All right, food is next after Kim's news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report could be sponsored by you. We are looking for sponsors for segments or all of the Nikki Medoro Show. Email us at thenikkiMedoroShow@gmail.com. Let's get right to the former president. Former President Trump will not be in handcuffs when he appears in a Manhattan court next week. That is the word from attorney Joe Tacopina, who says he is not ruling out a perp walk for his client. claiming prosecutors will try to get every ounce of publicity out of all this. Former President Trump indicted by a Manhattan grand jury investigating whether money was paid to adult film actress Stormy Daniels and whether or not that was against the law. The pictures you're looking at are fake. These are fake pictures already surfacing of mugshots of the former president. They are not real, but people are already trying to get in there and make these something. Stormy Daniels on TV, Piers Morgan teasing the first Stormy Daniels interview since the former president was indicted. Morgan saying he will be airing the first interview with Daniels this afternoon. Trump reportedly facing 34 criminal counts and is expected to turn himself in on Tuesday. What that will look like, we don't exactly know just yet. Let's go to the train derailment situation. The Justice Department is now suing Norfolk Southern in connection to the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, earlier this year. Now, the lawsuit alleges the railway company violated the Clean Water Act for pollutants that were allegedly discharged when a train carrying hazardous material derailed in what was a fiery crash right near the Pennsylvania border. What you're looking at there is the aftermath of it all. The man convicted of killing 19-year-old Kristen Smart in 1996 has now been transferred out of San Luis Obispo County. The California Department of Corrections says Paul Flores was moved yesterday. He was relocated to North Kern State Prison in Kern County. That's a medium custody facility where he will serve the maximum sentence of 25 years to life. Sorry, pardon me, had to cough. Okay, let's talk about a new policing plan moving forward in Minneapolis after a police officer murdered George Floyd. That happened in 2020. The city council unanimously approved a plan to address systemic racial bias. According to Minnesota's Star Tribune, the 144-page settlement between the city and the State Department of Human Rights that sued Minneapolis for the murder will be released to the public very, very soon. And fans of the classic TV sitcom Golden Girls are gathering in Chicago. A 3-day convention billed as Golden Con is being held at the Sheraton Grand Chicago Riverwalk, focusing on the classic show. Tickets can be purchased at thankyouforbeingafan.com. And I don't know, Nikki, if you heard this story, but apparently there is a big problem in the city of Sunnyvale with crows. So I'll take George Floyd down. My apologies. With crows. So they're having a big problem in city areas. Crows are just making a noise and
I thought you were going to say they were attacking people.
No, but they're considered a nuisance, I guess. So the city of Sunnyvale residents are ranking them as the second biggest problem. The first, speeding drivers. Second,
drivers
crows.
And crows. Okay,
so it's these crows. Big deal for the crows. And so they thought they had it figured out. They brought out this $20 green laser machine. And for a hot minute, the crows were freaked out of the lasers and they cleared out of Plaza del Sol and along the Murphy Avenue, which is kind of this historic area. But apparently, after about a month, the crows wisened up, you see. They're pretty smart. And they're like, yeah, we get it. It's a laser. You're not going to get rid of us so easy.
Oh, that is so funny.
So the lasers are less effective than they were last year. Apparently, these crows are very intelligent, so they get used to deterrents or change locations to avoid these deterrents. They're too smart for it. They're really smart birds. Apparently, they say it's hard to fool a crow. They quickly learn what a real threat is and what might be something perceived as a threat. And that these lasers don't work is no surprise to people who understand the whole crow mentality.
Maybe they should just learn to live with the crows. I mean, I'm sure that the crows find people very annoying, right? I mean, like, wait a minute. It's not like you guys are great. You drive loud cars. You throw stuff all over the place. I love how people are like, oh, these things are annoying. You're annoying. I'm sure to birds, you're very annoying as well. So
we don't know what the city of Sunnyvale is going to try next to get rid of these crows. The Humane Society recommends playing recorded crow distress calls. I don't know what that sounds like.
Because that's not annoying.
Using pyrotechnics Like what? Fireworks?
Like that's
or
not
fire?
annoying and loud. Okay.
Burn them to death. I don't know. Or making other loud noises that sound like fireworks, or hanging effigies of crows to keep the birds at bay.
Wow, that's just like we're gonna hang you.
We're gonna
if you
hang
don't
you.
s-
I
You
mean,
know,
all of that seems rather morbid.
yeah, and we need to start realizing that we aren't the only things in our environment. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be annoyed if there was crows attacking and pooping all over the place. I'm not saying that it's not annoying. I am empathizing, but at the same time, crows are allowed to exist. If you don't like it, sorry, but
They're
that's just the
loud.
annoyance
They
of
poop.
life.
It's a
Yeah,
big.
we're loud. We poop. I mean, come on.
You know what's interesting to me?
Hmm.
That Sunnyvale residents think speeding drivers and then crows are the
Gross.
problem. You know what everybody else in the Bay Area is ranked number one is homeless people.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, it's the crows, people.
It's the crows. The crows
It's
are an
the crows.
issue.
You
Not
know,
that the
they're
crows aren't a problem, but hey.
they're everywhere and they poop. Kind of like the homeless. They're everywhere and they poop, but they've targeted the crows. So
Oh my
there you go.
goodness. The Nikki Medoro Show is crowdfunded. We appreciate you being part of our community. And if you can support the show in other ways, check out the NikkiMedoroShow.com to find the Patreon and PayPal links. And thank you for whatever you can kick in.
Yep.
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show.
Yeah, let me give some shout outs real quickly to those that are donating to our super chat. Rick Cone started us off with $25.
So
Thank you for
nice.
the donation, Rick. And then Wes comes in, a toast to Trump being inconvenienced this weekend with $10. Thank you so much. And then Chris B with a $10 donation. First time listening live in a while. Work too busy. I'm so happy to have you on this Friday, Chris. Thank you for tuning in live. So
cool.
many.
Welcome.
Like 70% of our listeners probably listen on the replay because I know it's the middle of the day and people have real jobs and all sorts of things. But I love every single one.
Some
of you
people
that
actually work for a living. Imagine
will
that.
go. You know, my show is the most important thing that you should be doing. So I'm very proud for the fact that we get off our butt, Kim McAllister, and do this show every day, and that all of you join us live. But if you can't, it's always on replay. That's the joy, of course, of YouTube. Okay, let's do this, shall we?
Oh my God, I have to put this text from Amy up.
I would take Rose any day over the homeless guy who's been playing the accordion in front of my house in September. Don't hose the accordion player down though. I mean, you know how that turns out. That's awful. Like,
yeah.
I know, Meredith. Crows have long memories, and don't forget if you try to hurt them. And if you give them little treats, they'll bring you presents back, I've heard. Ricky O'Bear, an accordion is an acquired musical taste. And I'm not knocking accordion players. I think that it's a talent to be able to do all that at the exact same time. So it's an instrument I wouldn't want playing outside my front door.
No.
So
since September. Oh,
all.
Lord.
All right. Well,
Amy.
don't make me lose my appetite. Okay. Are you ready?
Yeah.
So yesterday, Kim, you were talking, was it McDonald's in Hawaii, right?
Yeah.
Has guava fingers. And I've never heard of this. It's like a pie that's guava filled. And someone said it reminds me of a guava finger that is sold at places like Milohas in San Jose.
Yeah.
It's on Branham and Meridian. It's this little place in a shopping center. So I went there this morning and I cut it open so you could see it. So that's the guava. Ooh. I had this warming in the oven.
Okay.
Do the whole like TikTok thing. I'm gonna totally be honest. I ate half of it already because I wanted to.
How was it?
So good, but it wasn't melty like it is right now. I try to warm it up in the oven because, okay, so when you go there, they serve them to you cold and then they can warm them up. It takes about 10 minutes if you get an empanada, but I was like, no, give them to me. I'll just warm them up right before my show. But it takes like 3 minutes for the fingers and then like 8 to 10 for the empanadas. And you want to watch it. You don't, depending on your oven. But I wanted them warm for the show. So I just turned on the oven and then like baked them for a little bit and then left them just in the warm oven and turned the oven off. So they were all melty and gooey. But here,
Yeah. I'm jealous. That's the problem with this segment is that we're all jealous of you.
Well, you can always get food on your own, chemical. Although I know you're sick, you're not going anywhere.
Oh, look at all this. This is all,
there's
by the
so
way,
many
pictures of food from Milohas.
Mm-hmm.
Milohas in San Jose on Meridian.
Oh, let me upload something.
There's the guava finger.
Mm-hmm.
A close up.
I
Was that
did
worth it? What do you think? How much did you spend there on all the different
Okay.
things you bought?
So
Because I can't walk into a place like that and just buy one thing.
So this is what I did. So I told my husband last night. I'm going to show you a video in just a second too. I told my husband last night that I was doing this for the Friday food segment. He's like, pick me up 2 beef and empanadas. And so I was like, okay. And I told you my mom had gone there before, and she's like, the spinach and cheese was really good, but she'd already eaten it. I was like, okay. So I knew I was going to get the spinach and cheese. I knew I was going to get the guava fingers. So I got 2 guava fingers, 2 beef empanadas, 1 spinach and cheese empanada, which I'm about to taste right now. I have not tasted. And then I always do this when I go there. When I visit new restaurants, especially, I'll ask the person working, if you had to grab something right now to eat,
Right.
what would it be? What are you in the mood for? Like what? And so she chose the chicken and potato empanada. So that's going to be like my dinner, because I did not want to heat everything up, because I know I'm not going to eat it all right now. And so I decided to just try the spinach and cheese. Look at that. That's a lot.
That
of
looks
spinach.
really good. Yeah.
So it's spinach and mozzarella cheese. Oh, I forgot. And then all of it comes with like the salsa. So let me try some of that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Milohas
like
is a Colombian empanaderia.
Yeah.
And
this
I'm telling
salsa
you.
looks really good.
So is that the green salsa that I saw that comes with it?
Look.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That bomb. And look, people, I'm not eating any meat.
So they've been in business since 2014, making grandma's recipes, they say.
Right on the door, it says grandma's recipes. Hold on. I'm going to take that off. I'm going to play this video.
Okay.
And you'll get to see the inside of the restaurant and everything that they did. You can see this on my Instagram page as well, but here we go. I've been really interested. Family-owned place, correct? All right. So there you go. That's all the stuff that I bought. I spent $29. That's how much everything cost. So
not so bad. Yeah.
Not too bad. I mean, and these were fresh made pastries. I left the receipt too far away for me to grab. But yeah, it wasn't too bad. And then I tipped him a couple bucks just because I always tip when I go. But it was really, I mean, this honestly, like look at that. Cheese, spinach. It's bomb. Emma says Colombian calzones. Yeah. Not spicy, Calvin. This is the salsa too. It's not spicy.
You are so good at making those little videos too. It's really cool.
I've been trying to do more of them.
Yeah, I like it.
With my mouth full, but that's the whole point of the food segment, right? Now, read that for me.
The origin of empanadas is unknown. They are thought to have originated in Spain, northwest Spain. That's from Jay Siller. And Chris says,
oh, that's for the pros,
something else. Sorry.
I was like, pepper spray, not on my
No.
Oh, here. Amy has a question. I'm going to go to brunch in Petaluma tomorrow. Is Brewster's Brewery any good? Have you ever been there?
So Brewster's is okay. They have a great outdoor facility. It is so much fun to go to that place. And if you have kids, there's a kid play area outside. They have a really cool fire pit you can sit around. It's wonderful at night. There's a stage with performances often. At Christmas, they decorate this thing like you would not believe. Brewster's is great for that. There are some
anything about what they serve.
They have been known to you only can have a table for a certain amount of time and they will kick you right out.
Oh, wow.
They turn tables. So a lot of people think they're rude because of that. Their food's expensive. Their drinks aren't that great. Their food isn't that great. They have a chicken sandwich that is awesome. Get the chicken sandwich, get the little platter of vegetables if you're going. Try not to order a lot of drinks because they're just too expensive. And cocktails there, meh, you probably want to stick to beer or wine.
Well, yeah, it's a brewery. I don't normally a
They have
brewery.
all
I mean,
these
I get
craft cocktails with bitters and everything. Everything I've
I
ever
see.
ordered there has been like, I don't really like it.
Okay.
So everyone in town thinks the food is overrated, but because of where it is and what the facility is, people go because it's worth going just to hang out.
To hang out there. Yeah. I
Mhm.
mean, I would say the atmosphere of a place is I would say just as important, but not as important as the food and the drinks. Cause I have gone to many dive bars and even like
Mhm.
just basic restaurants. But if the drinks and the food are bomb, I'm just stoked that nobody else has really been discovering it. I'm just happy when
Yeah.
stuff like that happens. Kim says
When-
go to Saks, Cafe Bellini, Cafe Mimosa, or Hallie's.
Haley's, yeah.
Haley's. Okay. There's her recommendation.
Yeah,
Have you been to those
Sax's joint is amazing.
Okay.
Their food is awesome. I mean, it's kind of a 50s diner style ambiance. So it's not like a cool outdoor Brewster's,
But it might be cold on Sunday or whatever
It
day
might be
Amy's
cold.
going. Might
Yeah,
be chilly.
but
I hate eating outside when it's cold.
yeah, that's just, that's my take on Brewster's.
Okay, so Natalie says the
Buñuelo?
Buñuelo.
Cheese fritter?
The cheese fritter is so good too. The owner lady is so sweet. Yeah, I didn't get to talk to the owner. There was a younger lady that was there, and you heard in the video being like, it's a family-owned restaurant or place, right? And she said, yeah. They were really, really nice. But I'm telling you, at Milohas, there were so many options and things that I wanted to try. I'm really glad I got the guava. I'm really glad. I really like that spinach and cheese empanada. Because I'll say this, sometimes, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, even though they gave me the salsa, sometimes empanadas can be dry, if you feel me. But the pastry wasn't too thick. If it's too thick, there has to be a good ratio of filling to crust, and this was perfect. So I highly recommend it.
Would you make it a point to go back there later on?
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
You'll go back. Yeah.
I'll go back. I mean, empanadas. Quick story. On my honeymoon, and I know it's not an empanada, but like kind of like a meat pie type of thing. When I went on my honeymoon to Jamaica, and we went to like a Sandals resort or whatever. At Sandals, they had this food stand that sold meat pies like 24/7. I must have eaten my weight in meat pies. Like I ate so many the entire time that I was there. Empanadas, like they're very filling, but I could see if I got like a hankering for one that I really like this spinach and cheese one, I could probably talk myself into eating there once a week.
So we honeymooned on the big island of Hawaii, and we're driving to one part of the island and came across this field with this ramshackle little truck and a handwritten sign that said empanadas. So we stopped. To this day, it's probably the best thing I've ever put in my mouth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying.
I know what you're saying.
It was so good.
So good.
And we both were like, oh, remember those empanadas? Nothing ever compares.
Yeah. I mean, isn't it funny? Like you could just eat something and it stays with you.
And there was no filling. It was just a plain empanada with powdered sugar on top. But oh my God, it was good.
Yeah, Natalie goes, they're never dry. The beef is great. The quinoa and mushroom is great. Spinach is great. The pineapple empanada is great. It's all great. Natalie's a big fan. I just want to throw this in. Just on the side note, not talking about what we're talking about. Grady, go. We talked about this briefly yesterday. San Jose executive director of the San Jose Public POA, the Police Officers Association. We did talk about this.
Crazy story. I had it.
Crazy story. Yeah. And we talked about that yesterday. So if you want to watch the show from yesterday, we do discuss this. It is crazy though. They keep interviewing, and I don't mean to laugh, but they keep interviewing the neighbors. And she lives in like the Almaden area of South San Jose. And they keep interviewing this guy who's like the de facto spokesperson, I guess, for the neighborhood because he keeps being interviewed, or they keep pulling sound bites from him. And he's like, you think drug dealer, you think people moving in and out, but apparently he called it like the Amazon for fentanyl pills or something like that.
Well, she used her home, her
Yes.
office computers, even the police union's UPS account.
Yes, it's
allegedly
crazy.
To order and distribute thousands of opioid and other pills, attempting to import fentanyl. This
Yeah.
is wild. And if you see
Crazy.
the picture of her, you guys, she
She's like a
looks like
60-something-year-old woman, like your grandma.
she just looks like this lady. And this is probably why she got away with it for so long. Because look at her. I mean, she just looks like this, you know.
I think she has a drug problem. That's what I said yesterday. I think she has a drug problem. I
Well,
think
she's
that
going, allegedly, Joanne Segovia is going down.
yeah, I think that of course she's getting paid leave, which is the way, I guess. But I can't, and I'm making that up that she has a drug problem. I am totally making that up. But I don't understand how a woman who works for the Police Officers Association gets into this line of business unless something triggered it. You know what I mean? Like maybe an injury. And I'm just making up this story, but I'm like, how does this happen? You know what I mean? Like, how do you just, or you just, I guess, see the money. You see dollar signs. Somebody comes after you like, I'll give you this much money. Maybe she has money problems. I don't know. But exactly. She looks like she wears pearls to
Yeah,
church.
Natalie, exactly. She does. I mean, it's so you look at her, and I mean, I guess there's the race thing as well. She's this, you know, upper crust white lady who curls her hair every day. Looks like she wears the pearls to church.
Yeah.
And wow, she is not as advertised. You just can't judge. Telling you.
Calvin says she's a dealer, not a user. No, what I'm saying is like she might not do drugs at all, but I'm just wondering, how do you get into the opioids? Maybe she was introduced, wanted to get them a certain, you know, because she started getting addicted to them. I'm making up a story here because it doesn't make any sense of why you would risk your entire career over something like this. And she was it was such risky things that she was doing, like Kim mentioned, using the association's UPS account. All these things to me speak like someone that has an addiction, is not thinking clearly. That's why I say what I'm saying. Yeah, Amy agrees with me. She's totally a drug addict and dealer. She bought more after she was investigated. Wow, she still bought more after she was investigated? Damn. So that's why my mind goes there. Yeah, but we did talk about it. I just wanted to mention it again because it is a crazy story that's kind of been lost in the whole indictment and everything else that's been going on. But let's get back to food. Yeah.
I doubt this. This would be wild, though, Grady. What? If he says how many cops were her distributors, not to yet to be, you know, that's
they're saying no officers are
right.
tied to it, at least at this point.
But we'll definitely watch this story because holy moly.
Yeah, that's quite the story. All right, well, let me squeeze in these other food stories. So Taco Bell, I think, has found the way to get more people to go to its fast food places. They're doing these polls of what you want to bring back. Okay, if you don't like Taco Bell, just ignore this segment for a second because you know I'm obsessed with Taco Bell. But apparently, they did it with the Enchilito. What was the one that was up against the Enchilito? But the Enchilito won, and something else. So this time, they are, where is it? Oh, the Beefy Crunch Burrito with Fritos Flaming Hot Flavored Corn Chips versus Cool Ranch Dorito Loco Tacos. I'm going to call it right now. It's going to be the Cool Ranch. Hands down, it's going to be the Cool Ranch Dorito Loco Taco. Because the normal Doritos Loco Tacos, the nacho one that's on the menu normally and all the time, it does fabulously. And so I'm going to vote, if there was a poll up, that's the one that's going to get it. The Beefy Crunch Burrito with Fritos Flaming Hot Flavored Corn Chips. I've never eaten it. It doesn't look that good. I'd rather take a Cool Ranch Doritos Locos Tacos any day. M-Oaks says bring back the Bell Beefer.
Huh.
Was that nacho cheese, beef, and rice or something like that? I think that's what that was. Bring back the Enchilito and keep it on the damn menu. It bothered me. It bothers me that they just had it out for a little bit. It's very, very annoying. Other food news, Krispy Kreme has made an announcement. Here it is. Again, because I'm not one of these people, this does nothing for me. So they've announced that they're bringing back pumpkin spice donuts from April 1st to April 2nd. Now, of course, people are saying this is an April Fool's joke, but apparently they're saying, no, we're not kidding. They said in a statement, it's pumpkin spice season. Is it though? It's not. Hurry in for our pumpkin spice original glazed donuts at Krispy Kreme. Kidding, not kidding. I'm not a pumpkin spice girl. It is not a flavor that I like or that I crave at all.
So you certainly don't want to see it in April?
I don't want to see it in April. I don't want to see it in October. I don't want to see it. It's not yummy to me. Yeah, Amy, Cool Ranch by landslide, hands down. So that if you want to get it, you can get it tomorrow. What?
Stephen Espanola says we're the favorite podcasters. Is he coming on?
I thought he couldn't come on today. I didn't think that you were here today, Stephen Espanola. I can
maybe he's just checking in from somewhere else.
Oh, I saw that you weren't home. I thought I saw that you weren't there. Okay. Stephen, we need an email. We'll get some dates on so I know for sure. Between him and Jefferson Graham, I can't keep track of who's here and who's not. I apologize because I would have loved to listen to some ukulele music while it was stuffing my face with some food.
With a guava empanada. That would have been perfect.
Exactly. Would have been perfect together.
Yes.
Trevor and Concord, bring back the potato griller, the Choco Taco.
What's a potato griller?
I think that's the one where they used to have like seasoned potatoes, I think wrapped up in like a tortilla. I mean, it's the same friggin' ingredients, just put a different way. I think it's like seasoned potatoes. I never had it. I don't like that kind of stuff. I want the Choco Taco too. I told you I still need to go to that ice cream place in Santa Clara that makes homemade, or they make their own ice cream tacos in different types of flavors. I want to try that. It's really, really good. No April Fool's joke. Frosted banana bread Pop-Tart just announced. Frosted banana bread Pop-Tart. I don't know. I'm not a Pop-Tart. I never have been a Pop-Tart fan. I like the toasted strudels if I was going to get one of those just because it's flakier. And you know what I was bitching about the other day with my mom? You know what you can't find anymore? And maybe you have to be of a certain age. Now, Entenmann's still exists, okay? They do pastries, donuts, things like that. They used to have a cream cheese filled coffee cake. Entenmann's. That was bomb. I mean, I could eat that thing in one sit. I mean, it was like this big. And the only reason that I used to know about it was because my dad was a bread guy. Like, he delivered bread. And so when you're in the delivery business, delivery people would swap stuff, right? So like I always had bread in my house. Like, that was just something. We always had bread, and we always had pastries because they like, I have extra here, da 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 da. And Entenmann's cream cheese filled coffee cake was my favorite.
They were pretty good.
No more. You can't find them anymore.
What happened to them?
I don't know. I mean, Entenmann's still exists. Entenmann's. Anybody have a in on Entenmann's? Yes. Walnut Creek Adult Softball. I asked my mom about this just yesterday or the day before. I'm like, what the hell? What happened to this? Because you can get it at the grocery store, like Lucky's or whatever. They make their own. It's not the same. It's not the same. It was like this wide and like that high, and it was stuffed. It was so good. They should bring that back. Yeah. I mean, I love people if you know what I'm talking about, you know how they have to bring that crap back. I hate the fact that stuff like that doesn't exist. And then I feel like I'm really old. It hasn't been around for like 20 years. No. Am I that freaking old, Amy? Damn it. I guess I am that old.
I have a food story for you too.
Okay, go.
I don't know if you've heard, but the Dungeness crab season has been cut short.
I know, and I didn't even have any crab this year.
To Mexico. Okay, so I didn't know if you were a crab eater, but April 15th is the last day. From Mendocino north, it's okay, but from Mendocino southward, it's not okay because the whales are coming.
Yes.
Yeah.
The poor whales. I saw you do that story about the whale with the stump, no tail, trying to swim and everything like that. I mean, we got to protect the animals. And you know how I feel. I know I'm a meat eater, and maybe you think I'm being a hypocrite. But if I can't have crab, or I can only have crab in a short period of time so that these whales don't get caught up in the nets and die, I'm fine with it. And I know that people's livelihoods depend on it. Every time I hear these stories, I always think to myself, and I know it's not easy, and I know it's not cheap or something simple to do, but you have to, if you work in a business that deals with either the environment or animals or something like that, I mean, you just got to ebb and flow with stuff like this, especially like with climate change and environmental laws and things like that. You know, if you can't, fish for crab or go crabbing, you're going to have to find something else to make ends meet. And I know it's not easy, but we have to protect the whales. I don't want the whales to die or to lose their tails or anything like that. Okay, we're going to do Kim's news, and then I still want to get to this topic. We live in an amazing time, okay? We just do. So your friend calls and says, or your relative and says, hey, can you take me or can you pick me up from the airport? Do you think that we are past the point where we shouldn't have to pick people up anymore. Like, I should not have to wake up at the butt crack of dawn to take you to your red eye flight or stay up really, really late to get you from the airport because Uber and Lyft exist. Taxi cabs exist, but Uber and Lyft exist. You can be taken really quick and easy. You don't have to book it ahead of time most of the time. Is it rude? Or should you be annoyed if people don't take advantage of that? Also coming up, the most and least stressed states. What do you think is which state do you think is the most stressed and the least stressed? I do still want to get to Gwyneth Paltrow and the update on that ski crash, because she's, of course, turned into a meme, which I find really, really funny. And then, of course, if we have time for all that, we'll squeeze it in, because we also have Tim Sika telling us what to watch in the movie theaters and what to stream. And so we know what to watch and what not to watch. That's all coming up on the Nikki Medoro Show.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
And this report could be sponsored by you. Email us for sponsorship opportunities at thenikkimedoroshow@gmail.com. Who are we starting with this time around? You know them. Police are now preparing for possible protests at the nation's capital after former President Trump was indicted by a grand jury in New York. D.C. police say there is no word of any potential or planned demonstrations. Trump is due in court Tuesday on charges related to hush money, as Mark Thompson says, the poorest hush in hush money ever, hush money payments made to an adult film star in 2016. President Biden and the First Lady are in Mississippi today to survey the damage caused by deadly tornadoes in a place called Rolling Fork. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said more than 300 federal personnel are on the ground supporting recovery efforts, and FEMA is opening disaster centers there. President Biden will meet with Governor Tate Reeves and other local and state officials. This is a key inflation measure watched by the Federal Reserve that is apparently slightly growing. This is the Personal Consumption Expenditures Price Index, which doesn't include food and energy, but it rose 0.3% in February. Imagine if it included energy, because those PG&E bills keep going straight up. On a yearly basis, it is up 4.6%. So that's a key inflation measure. No bueno. For the second straight morning, SpaceX Falcon 9 aborted a launch from the Vandenberg Space Force Base in Santa Barbara County. The second attempt to launch a military satellite into orbit, now being postponed until Saturday at the very earliest. The liftoff was planned for 7:30 this morning. The launch, though, aborted at 3 seconds right before launch. High drama. SpaceX didn't say why they called off the launch. They did say everything looked healthy, though. SpaceX tweeting after today's attempt, saying the mission needs more time for vehicle preparations. I don't know exactly what that means. An attorney for Jonathan Majors. We heard about this story. They're releasing text messages now that he says came from a woman who is now accusing the actor of assaulting her. While the messages have not been verified, the messages allegedly show the woman telling Majors after that she had said it was her fault for trying to grab his phone of the assault. Majors was arrested Saturday morning on charges of strangulation, assault, and harassment after the woman alleged that he attacked her following that dispute. So this is something that's ongoing. Governor Gavin Newsom says he is sick of watching what he calls ridiculous actions of GOP leaders. In a video released yesterday, Governor Newsom revealed plans to travel to states where freedom is most under attack. He is starting a political group to help support Democratic activists, candidates, and elected officials fighting in red states. He says a lot of them probably feel abandoned. His first trip is this weekend to Arkansas, Mississippi, and Alabama. Governor Newsom crisscrossing the state. Several California cities joining the battle to keep using a firefighting tool. A federal lawsuit wants to stop retardant drops, mainly this bright pink fire retardant. Forest advocates feel the substance does more harm than good. claiming it pollutes rivers and streams. The mayor of Paradise says if this goes through, it could destroy communities. His town was wiped out by a fire in 2018.
Yeah.
In 2021, more than half of the retardant used on national forest lands was dropped across the state.
Well,
California.
if we don't use that, if we don't use this type of retardant, what is the option? I can't imagine we want to use more water.
I mean, I wouldn't imagine so. And it seems like we have a choice. Either we let it burn or we pollute. Neither choice is good. But
Well,
I
I mean, we've
guess
been
in the
using this
moment, you got to
retardant for
stop
a
the
while.
fire, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, Grady, you can't let it burn when it's your neighborhood, right? No. I understand the environmental aspect and everything you said about that, but I don't want to use our water either. I don't think that that's something we can really. I mean, this year I guess we can, but that's
I
a tough
wish
one.
there was something else that
Baking
that
soda.
could be used that wasn't so damaging to the environment. We know that a lot of things
Magic
with
blanket.
fire retardant in them
Mm-hmm.
are dangerous, like fire retardant placed on mattresses. That's why people started buying organic mattresses for their infants. The fire retardant used to cover children's pajamas and has
Yeah.
that tacky feel. Those chemicals get on the skin. A lot of these things that are covered in flame retardant are covered in chemicals, basically, and they're not healthy. And so I can imagine that this would do some damage to the environment. But when you've got a choice to make to either drop this stuff and deal with some pollution or stop a wildfire and save a community, I got to save the community.
Yeah, me too. I agree. That's a tough one though.
Yeah, it is. It is. Influencer,
Blech.
barf, Andrew Tate is released from jail and placed on house arrest in Romania. Tate and his brother Tristan remain under investigation for alleged human trafficking claims. The influencer, barf, gained international attention over the years for what I'll call misogynistic views. He and
Mhm.
his brother have been in custody since December on suspicion of trafficking, rape, and forming an organized crime group.
There's a woman that does a similar program like he does. They've done they've co-hosted together, and apparently her star is rising since him and his brother have been in prison. And so, but she does the same thing. She basically just agrees with everything. Women aren't submissive, women aren't this, that, and the other. That's what's wrong with women. So, whatever, she's free to say whatever the hell she wants. I think she does it for the money and for the attention. But yeah, she's been, I guess, raking in the dough since he's been in prison. So I wonder what's going to happen to her.
This is all alleged and nothing is proven. But supposedly there's some boys in my daughter's class that fell down the Tate rabbit hole and have been listening to the things that this man is saying and then coming to school
Oh,
and
God.
bullying girls at school. So when you look at a guy like this, whether he's committed, the rapes or has trafficked women or what has been yet to be proven in court, but the wide reach that they have on kids that are easily
Impressionable.
at a point where they're easily moldable. They're still forming their opinions on sexuality and on who they are in the world, and they catch what this guy is saying. This is very damaging.
Yeah, I mean, you have to talk to both your daughters and your sons about people like this.
Yeah.
Because, girls, you just need the right face. Like this chick I was just talking about that has a similar podcast with a similar slant to it. If some girls are like, yeah, maybe I should. And again, if you're a grown woman and you want to be submissive and you believe in this nonsense, do you? I mean, I'm raising my daughter completely different, but you have to talk to both your daughters and your sons. If I ever heard any sort of phrase that came out of Andrew Tate's mouth come out of my son's mouth, that'd be the last time that would ever be happening. He's just disgusting. And I mean, at this point, I can never imagine my son doing that, but you have to watch and listen to what your kids are listening to. It's very simple. I mean, it's hard, but you have to listen to them.
Got to pay attention because I bet the parents don't even realize.
Exactly.
And they're impressionable, very impressionable kids.
Absolutely.
And lastly, we go to Gwyneth.
Oh, yay.
Why she thought these glasses were a good idea, I don't know. But a juror in the Gwyneth Paltrow ski crash trial is opening up now about how the jury came to the decision that the actress was innocent in all of this. I don't know how you could have really decided anything else, but Samantha Emery told ABC News the verdict had nothing to do with the fact that Paltrow was a celebrity. She
Right.
said she took into account that she was an actress, but she didn't feel that she had a reason to lie under oath. She added that Paltrow is always in the spotlight, so she always has to be honest. Not necessarily, but okay. Emery
Right.
said a doctor who testified for Paltrow using a scientific approach to explain the accident swayed the jury the most. She also noted the man accusing Paltrow posted on social media seemingly in good health after the accident. Did you see the part where his lawyer was like, "You went to Europe? You went skiing? You went kayaking? You
Right.
went,
You're fine.
hot air balloon riding? You went, yeah, all these places and there was like a laundry list of travels and escapades, and you went to the BMX motocross show. You went here with your daughter. You did all these fun things." And I mean, if
Yeah.
you really had that much pain, could you have really traveled that much?
No, you could not.
I
And you're
don't
not
think I
insane.
could have done all the things that guy did. I would be exhausted.
Exactly.
Ugh.
It's too much. It's too much. Hold on. I want to show. Well, oh, wait. Finish your news. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I'm Kim McAllister on the Nikki Medoro Show. That's the end. Yay!
All right. Yeah. Okay. So here is the image of Gwyneth Paltrow. And now when she walked out, she leaned over and whispered to this guy, "I wish you well." And it's become a meme.
I wish you well.
This one woman tweeted, "I wonder how long it will be for 'I wish you well' to be accepted as the West Coast equivalent of 'bless your heart,' which is basically a kind way of telling you to F off, right?"
I wish you well.
But yeah, it's so funny. And then there's this. I'm going to share my screen. Let me take the music down real quick because the memes of this, and this is what I love about, our society and our our current culture is we just do stuff like this. And if you can't laugh at certain things, then what's the point? So this is a fake voiceover of Gwyneth Paltrow leaving the courtroom. So here we go. Hold on.
This court is now adjourned.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yep.
About the floor.
Okay.
Yes, everyone remains seated while the parties leave.
You've just been gooped.
You've just been gooped is what he said, which is just really funny. So a lot of this, because she's a celebrity and she's an actress, obviously it's in the public eye, but I do think excellent points made by her attorney and the doctor. Like the guy is,
You know what I love
he was looking for a
about this, though?
paycheck,
I love that she went to court. This could have been really embarrassing for her, right? To show up in court, to do all this, could have been really embarrassing. It would have been so easy for her to write this guy a $300,000 check just to go away.
Oh, it's a point.
But she's like, "Dude, you hit me, and I am not going to fall on my knees to you. We're going to court, and I'm going to defend myself." And I
Yes.
think that should have been the biggest indicator that she even showed up in court is like, okay, someone's trying to shake her down. No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, real quickly, if a friend asks you, let me know in the comment. If a friend asks you, "Hey, can you get me from the airport?" What do you say? And are you one of those people that don't mind? So the reason why I'm asking this is there has been an online debate of whether or not it's annoying to be asked to be picked up from the airport. So here are your options. Think about the last time you were asked to pick up a friend from the airport. Did you A, jump at the chance to help? That's what friends are for. Or B, die a little inside and wonder why they can't get an Uber or a taxi, an airport pickup. You're not a masochist. And apparently, a lot of this has to do with the age of people.
Yeah.
So one woman shared this online. She says, "As an adult, don't ask your friends to pick you up at the airport. Use Uber, save a friendship." But then another person says, "I've heard this on a podcast once and it stuck with me ever since. Really a question about where do your priorities lie and what you make time for. I've taken it to heart ever since. And unless I absolutely cannot, I always try to pick people up from the airport." Kim McAllister, what do you say? I call you up. Well, I mean, not
Okay,
really ridiculous,
so
but yeah.
my husband, who I'm in love with,
Uh-huh.
just got home today from a business trip to Chicago.
And you didn't pick him up?
I didn't. I didn't. Neither did I take him to the airport nor pick him up from the airport, and he didn't
Really?
ask me to. He said, "Hey, can you drop me off at the airporter, which is the shuttle that goes from Petaluma to SFO?
Oh,
It's in the middle of town. It takes 3 minutes to get over there." I said, "Sure, I'll drop you off at the airporter." There's no reason for me to leave and drive all the way to San Francisco. I don't know. I don't know how much it costs. I think it's like $25 or something to take the airporter to the city.
oh, yeah.
And that's
But then
fine.
like you have to factor in like bridges and stuff like that. So, and the time, right? It's
Right.
it's
And
the
I mean,
middle of the day. It's commute hours. You don't
I'm
want to do
supposed to
that.
be on the air with you. I've got things going on. I've got 2 kids. I'm sick. Like all these things. I'm like, no, no. But my family, when my family goes to Hawaii, my
Mhm.
mom will go, my uncle will go, my aunt, my cousin, all these people, they say, "Hey, would you mind dropping us off at the airport and picking us up?"
No. Oh
Because there are
God.
so many people at once that it's more, I guess,
But how do you fit them
economical
all in the
for
car?
somebody's got a minivan, so I drive them in the minivan and then bring them home. So they will, but I'll often think to myself, "Why are we driving? Why don't you just take the airporter? 25 bucks a ticket. Go.
You
You're
should be
out."
like, you should tip me $5 a person,
I will say
and I'll
there's
take it.
something nice about when you get off of the plane,
And there's somebody you
having
know.
somebody waiting for you.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
comforting, it's lovely. I would say that I'm more apt to take someone to the airport that maybe is visiting or that I don't
Oh
see
yeah,
that often so I can
yeah.
spend more time with them before I take them and deposit them back to go from whence they came. But if it's just a person like I see every day, like my husband, and he's flying off for a business trip, to coin a
Peace
a
out,
phrase from the
deuces.
Mark Thompson show, "Sayonara,
I
sucker.
know,
Enjoy the
yeah,
airporter."
exactly.
Yeah.
Stephen Espanola says, I still pick up my wife's sister and her family from Oakland. I actually enjoy
Oh,
it.
he's so sweet.
I know.
I'm such a horrible bitch.
No, you are not. Now, Kim says age and time definitely matter. I have no desire to drive over a bridge if I don't have to.
Right.
Now, for me, I mean, the San Jose airport is extremely, if it's San Francisco, I've I've never had anybody ask me. No, I mean, I can't remember. At least I know I have done it, but I can't remember the last time somebody asked me to take them or pick them up from the airport, unless I was working in San Francisco at that time. Like, hey, as you head up, can you drop me off? Chip Franklin, he would go down to San Diego almost every weekend. On my way home, I would drop him off at SFO.
Oh,
But I
that's
was
different.
literally
It's on your
passing the
way.
airport. Yeah, I
Yeah.
was literally passing the airport. And even if I wasn't, I mean, I feel like I'm. If we're going to talk about age, I'm at that age where I would feel really bad saying no to somebody. I
Right.
wouldn't. I mean, part of me, if it was at the butt crack of dawn, I'd be like, no, take an Uber. I'm not getting my ass up out of bed to take you.
And that's really it. Like, how much of an inconvenience is it going to be for the person you're asking to do this?
Yeah. Cheryl, though, she says, I'm a grandma and I always take Lyft. I don't expect my kids to come and get me.
Look at you, Cheryl. Go get it, girl.
I agree. Calvin says the shuttle is very reasonable.
Right.
Randy says, depends which airport. I live in San Jose. I'll go pick someone up at SJC, San Jose. Maybe SFO, not really looking to drive up to Oakland. I will say this, Randy, from San Jose, I would rather go to Oakland Airport than San Jose. I mean, it depends on the time. I find Oakland to be closer or easier to get to. I mean, it's just straight up 101. But
It's also easier to deal with once you get into the airport system.
yeah.
SFO is always a zoo, you know?
Yeah. Ron says if it's a business trip, get your company to cover your expenses.
Yeah.
There you go. N-Star says, I grew up with friends who pick me up anywhere, so I would do the same. My friends picked me up 8 hours one way away before. But in
Wow.
this time, ride sharing is an option because that was in 2007. I've taken someone to like Sacramento Airport when I lived in Chico.
Wow.
I think that was kind of far from me. I was like, what the hell am I doing right now? But I was in
Too
college. What
much.
else was I doing? Ricky O'Bear says another reason I don't fly. Exactly. It's tough. You know what I mean? Like, oh wow. Kathy to Kit Kats from Vacaville to San Francisco for 2 and a limo service is $150 one way. No airport or service here for $25. Lucky you, Kim.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And then finally, Chuck Yu says, I think it says more about the kind of relationship you have with your friends. I live 45 minutes from what is that? Sacramento and SFO. I never ask for a ride because of the distance.
Yeah.
But that's a lot. I mean, if you're 45 minutes away from an airport, you are paying a pretty penny to get to the airport on an Uber or a Lyft. I mean, I would take the airport shuttle, which probably is maybe, I don't know, same price. But yeah, so there's a little bit of a split there. I have time for another story that I wanted to get to really quickly because I teased it. And if we have time after, I'll get to the stress states. But did you hear about this latest story involving ChatGPT?
Oh,
Now,
what now with the chat?
this is actually, well, it's a good one. It's not the sky is falling one. This was out of the UK. A college student from the UK says she asked ChatGPT to write a letter to get out of a parking ticket, and it worked. So Millie Holton is a student. She had about a $74 parking ticket. She was just going to pay up, but then decided to dispute the fine by asking ChatGPT what to say. I was like, oh, I don't really need this. I'm a student, blah, blah, blah. So she told ChatGPT the details. The fine was for parking on her own street, which she had a permit for, and it computed a response. It said I was a student and that I paid for my permit for 2 years and I was not going to deliberately park somewhere I shouldn't. She screenshotted it, and I'd throw it up there, but it's way too small. So I'll read a little bit of it. It says, I'm writing to appeal the penalty charge. I believe that the PCN, the ticket, was unjustified, and I hope that you will consider my explanation. On this date, I parked my car around the back of the house as I had received letters advising not to park outside the front of the house due to roadworks I'm sure you will be aware of. My permit covers parking around the back, and I believe that I was parking legally in the designated area. I was not aware that I had parked my back wheel over a yellow line, as the line was very faint and difficult to see, which totally sounds like a human wrote it. She received a finished letter, received a response that the fine was revoked, and she told CBS News that she was very relieved that it worked. So if you're looking to get out of a ticket and you need to know the words that you should use, maybe just open up the ChatGPT and there you go. Yeah, and stars, I'm amazed at how people are using AI in their life. I think that this is just going to continue and continue. Although, again, there are dark sides. When you have Steve Wozniak, Elon Musk telling the makers like Google and Microsoft to slow down with this technology, that's all I need to hear. Because they can see this stuff, they can see where it's going, and the problem is I don't think that they fully see where it's going. Kind of a more dark story regarding ChatGPT. And I'm going to preface the story by saying it does talk about somebody taking their own life. But this seems like actually a scene from a movie. Did anybody watch that movie, Her? It was where a guy was talking to basically an AI computer, and he thought he had a relationship with this AI until he realized that the AI was having relationships with everybody that kind of downloaded the software. But there was this father, a Belgian father, who was having these longer and more detailed conversations with a chatbot and was getting more and more despondent about climate change. Okay, now this was a chatbot that was trained by Chai Research. Okay, and so basically, this father, he was a health researcher, and started to view the chatbot as a human. And he began ramping up the discussions with the chatbot he named Eliza. And he became extremely pessimistic about the effects of global warming. And so was talking to this AI about it. And then his widow says, when he spoke to me about it, it was to tell me that he no longer saw any human solution to global warming. He placed all his hopes in technology and artificial intelligence to get out of it. He was so isolated in his eco-anxiety and in search of a way out that he saw the chatbot as a breath of fresh air. Eliza answered all of his questions. She became his confidant, like a drug in which he took refuge morning and evening, and which he could no longer do without. When he asked Eliza about the kids, the bot would claim they were dead. He also inquired if he loved his wife more than her, prompting the machine to seemingly become possessive responding,
Weird.
I feel that you love me more than her. Things came to a head after the man pondered sacrificing his own life to save Earth. And then Eliza agrees to take care of the planet and save humanity. And then tragically, I mean, obviously this guy has mental issues. He took his own life. I mean, this is dark. And this is my fear of also virtual reality, right? You combine something like a chatbot and AI like this that people can mentally start to view as humans, and then a complete physical disassociation with the real world and submersing yourself in virtual reality. You're just asking for problems. You're just asking for it. And so, yeah, that's a really really sad story. And again, that's out of the UK. And I'm just going to preface all of this that if you or someone you know is having mental struggles, 988 is a person, a real life person that you can call to kind of work yourself through it. So, oh, I didn't know this. Is this true, JR? Eliza was an old software program from the 80s PC area that was supposed to mimic a therapist. It didn't say that in the article that I was reading, but maybe it is an old technology that was still around. But this is saying the chatbot was trained by Chai Research, and the Chai app has about 5 million users. So that's insane. So just again, be careful with this technology. Use it for fun. Use it to get out of parking tickets. Don't use it to try to figure out how to heal the planet, because that's not going to be good. Okay, stay with the Nikki Medoro Show. We are going to talk to Tim Sika coming up. There's a couple of movies on this list that I'm like, I don't know about that. Kim mentioned one earlier this week, so we're going to get Tim Sika's take on D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. If we have any D&D fans, let me know in the comments if you're very excited about seeing this or not. So,
You know what I watched last night or the night before? This movie from 2017 called Glass Castle. Have you ever seen it?
I feel like I have. What's it about?
It's about this family. It stars Woody Harrelson. It's about these parents that are like, one's an alcoholic, one's an artist, but she's kind of loopy, like not paying attention to her kids, focusing on her art. And what happens to the kids and what happens to the family. How these kids grow up with, just absent parents, basically.
Oh,
It's
interesting. I don't think I've seen it. I don't think
it's
I've
a
seen
good
that
movie. I really liked it.
Woody Harrelson's in it?
Yeah, Woody Harrelson's in it.
Oh, I'll have to watch
bunch
the
of people.
trailer. I'll have to, you know what? So 2007, you said? Is that how long ago?
2017.
2017. Okay. I will Google it. All right. Tim Sika's next. What to watch at the theaters or what to stream. Click that thumbs up button before we go to Kim with the news.
Now, from around the world to up your street, the Nikki Medoro Show presents News Czar Kim McAllister.
Actually, I shouldn't start with that because I did want to start with video. There's some serious damage because of a tornado or series of tornadoes going on today in Little Rock, Arkansas. So let me see if I can't show you this video. I mean, wow, really wow. You can see the damage here. This is in Arkansas. Footage, I think, from the Weather Channel. Just amazing to see.
I was listening to the weather report. They're saying not just Arkansas. I mean,
no, it's multiple
tornadoes
states.
is going to be crazy.
Right. Right now, the President and Mrs. Biden, Dr. Biden, are seeing some of that damage. But just to see what's going on in Arkansas the damage is unfathomable. How much destruction that we're seeing. And so I should tell you that the National Weather Service is confirming a tornado hit Little Rock, the city of Jacksonville. There are fears the city of Conway was hit particularly hard. They're concerned about a separate supercell in the area that is bringing strong winds and hail and getting in the way of the efforts of first responders in that area. So that is just something I wanted to make sure that we all know about. Here in California, it's easy to not kind of realize the severity of what's happening on the other side of the country sometimes. An arraignment is set Tuesday for the 45th president of the United States. Donald Trump, indicted by a Manhattan grand jury investigating alleged payments to porn actress Stormy Daniels to cover up an affair the worst cover-up in history, before the 2016 presidential campaign. This comes after Daniels canceled an interview with Piers Morgan that was supposed to take place at this hour, and Stormy said, "Yeah, can't make it." Meanwhile, a potential GOP presidential candidate says former President Trump should be stepping aside from the 2024 election. Doesn't want him in it. Former Arkansas Governor Asa Hutchinson said the office is more important than the person, and the indictment is a distraction. He says he doesn't support an indictment of Trump, but he said it's important for the legal process to run its course. The federal government is getting behind California's efforts to phase out diesel-powered trucks. The U.S. Environmental Protection Agency is approving 2 Clean Air Act waivers backing California's idea to require truck manufacturers to sell more zero-emission trucks over the next 20 years. The EPA usually sets tailpipe emission standards, but has historically allowed California to set its own, more strict rules. 8 other states plan to adopt the California standards. In a statement, Governor Gavin Newsom said California is leading the charge to get dirty trucks and buses off of our streets. To Antioch. Yes, integrity indeed. The city of Antioch is preparing to pay an excessive amount to hire more cops. That word from Mayor Lamar Thorpe, who says they need to fill positions while a police scandal unfolds. 8 officers were reportedly put on leave this week for allegedly exchanging offensive text messages. That on top of 8 others waiting to find out if a grand jury will recommend charges. The mayor says he plans to call a special meeting with the police chief. They need police officers in Antioch, something fierce. It looks like a San Jose landmark is on the verge of becoming a national park. So, we get the picture up of Cesar Chavez. Some lawmakers would like to rename McDonald Hall in honor of civil rights leader Cesar Chavez, whose legacy is being celebrated across the nation today. It would be called Cesar Chavez and Farm Worker Movement National Historic Park and would include other facilities in the state as well. The San Jose Diocese has agreed to the designation since its hall sits on church grounds. So we'll see if they do that. They name it after Cesar Chavez. And lastly, the Oakland A's are celebrating a double win. They opened their Major League Baseball season at home last night, beating the LA Angels. This comes after a legal victory as well, a story we've been following on the Nikki Medoro Show, even when we were on the last platform, right? A court ruled in favor of an environmental review for the team's proposed ballpark at Howard Terminal. A coalition of port workers, truckers, and cargo terminal operators had sued last year, claiming the city didn't properly study adverse impacts of this project. But again, a legal victory, a court ruling in favor of an environmental review for the team's proposed ballpark at Howard Terminal.
So what's next now? I mean, I swear to God, this thing never ends.
It's like the hoops never stop coming.
Right. Can we just say, yes, it's going to happen and stop talking about it possibly not happening anymore?
I'm Kim McAllister, and this is the Nikki Medoro Show, baby.
Sorry. I mean, I'm just done. I swear. Can we just say yes or no?
Yeah.
Yes, it's happening. Let's get excited for it. Let's stop with the lawsuits. Let's stop with the questions and just know it's going to happen. I mean, I was listening to an interview this morning because it was opening day for Major League Baseball yesterday. And a bunch of people were saying, we're out here, we want to support our A's, but we don't know if this is going to be like one of the last opening days that we ever have. And so we'll have to see. And there's Cesar Chavez right there. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where I hope it happens. Mm-hmm. I understand the environmental. I understand there's logistics to work out, but if we could just get it together, then maybe we could do it. All right. Click that thumbs up button and let's welcome our good friend to talk movies and all things streaming as well. Tim Sika's here. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, Kim.
Hi. And this nice sunny day. So it's a perfect day to go to the movies. It's not stormy or anything like that. Thank God. So there's a number of things on your list. Let's start with D&D, my friend. Dungeons and Dragons, Honor Among Thieves. I am not a D&D person, so this will be all news to me.
Yeah, I was going to ask you guys if you ever played the game. I never did. No, I never did. It was what? It was popular like what, in the mid 70s or 80s or something?
Well, I have someone in my comments that was just saying that they played D&D. Eric said it. Love D&D, play it with my son and other friends often, looking forward to the movie. So should Eric be excited?
Yeah, well, I'm unqualified to speak as to whether this movie is representative of the game per se, but because the game always seemed very complicated to me, but the movie, this is the long in development big screen version of the famous role-playing game. There was another version of Dungeons and Dragons, and I think it was like in 2000 with Justin Whalen, which I never saw, but which got some of the worst reviews of any movie ever. That apparently was a serious version, and maybe the filmmakers of this new movie learned something from that debacle, because this is more of a comic approach. It's very quippy. In fact, most of the dialogue is like one funny zinger after another, while there's all this mayhem and drama going on around those quippy zingers. Anyway, Honor Among Thieves is a big Hollywood CGI spectacular. Another one of those, right? Where no expense apparently has been spared. And, this is what's weird, Nikki. I probably told you this before, but when I watch movies, I take lots of notes about the movie I want to remember or make a notation of or whatever. And I didn't take any notes during this because I didn't really know what to write about the movie.
Not a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, that's a good question. This is one of those it is what it is kind of movies, right? And as such, it's pretty good. I mean, the story's decent. Chris Pine is good. He plays the head of this small band of thieves who go in search of this resurrection tablet. It's like a relic that would enable him to resurrect his dead wife and reunite him with his young daughter. And it's funny. That's why I enjoyed it. It takes some initial getting used to. It took me about half an hour to adjust to the rhythms of this approach, because the dialogue, the going back and forth with all these quips between the characters, it seemed really dumb until I realized, this is supposed to be funny. and then I got it. It became funny, and all this comic dialogue is in contrast to what is essentially a really serious adventure tale. So it's a good script. The cast is uniformly good. Michelle Rodriguez is in this. She plays Chris Pine's foil, kind of like wingman or wingwoman. Hugh Grant does this mustache twirling bad guy. He's very funny. The production is breathtaking. The special effects are amazing, as always in these CGI movies. There's a great dragon here. What would a Dungeons and Dragons movie be without a great dragon, right?
Of course, yeah.
And of course, there's there's dungeons in this movie too. So I'm kind of personally a bit over these kinds of pictures. Seeing so many, makes me want to just crave a little bit of quiet. But this one's pretty good.
Good. When you say quippy, the first movie that popped into my mind was something like Guardians of the Galaxy. Where
it's kind of it's something. Yeah, but it's so subtle. It like I said, it took me like half an hour to sort of go, I didn't know what to make. I'm going, boy, they're talking really weird. But then it's like, oh no, you're supposed to laugh. They're playing this in a light kind of tone. And then the rest of the movie worked really well. Yeah, it was good.
Okay, good. I mean, that's really like surprising. You hear Dungeons and Dragons, and I think people, especially if you don't play the game and you're not into it, you have this cool stereotypical Big Bang Theory guys just hanging out in an apartment all night playing D&D, and that's good. Wow.
Is it violent?
Violent like Guardians of the Galaxy was kind of violent. It's a cartoony kind of violence. But it's not upsetting. It's just
like Star Wars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Now, you want to talk about violent? Let's talk about Living with Chucky. Now.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
No.
Kim's not going to like this one. But this isn't a movie. It's not like a Chucky movie.
No. Well, it's a documentary about the Chucky movies. It chronicles the history of the Chucky the Killer doll movies movies, beginning with Child's Play 2, Child's Play 3, Bride of Chucky, Seed of Chucky, Curse of Chucky, Cult of Chucky.
Here's a documentary we needed.
Yeah, right. The documentary we all needed. Kim McAllister, the Nikki Medoro Show. Yeah, well, and now there's a Chucky TV series. Who even knew? It's 2 seasons. It's on the Sci-Fi Channel. Anyway, it was written and directed by a woman named Kira Gardner, who is the daughter of Tony Gardner, one of the Chucky puppeteers. So this woman grew up with that devil doll hanging out in her living room, and Chucky the Killer doll was a fixture in her house growing up. So you can imagine. Anyway, she kind of goes into that. But like I said, it's a movie about the Chucky horror franchise. And it chronicles the impact of the first movie, which was called Child's Play, which was a really great horror movie.
I like
it.
it.
Yeah, and how the franchise kind of went from serious, horrific to being reinvented as a comedy with Bride of Chucky, where Chucky and his bride had actual sex on screen, which resulted in a baby that led to Seed of Chucky and their child, Glenda.
Oh, Lord.
The first trans kid apparently ever portrayed in a movie. And that was probably the most controversial one in the series. So they ditched the comedy. They returned to horror with Curse of Chucky, which starred Fiona Dourif, who was the daughter of Brad Dourif, who is the voice of Chucky in all of these Chucky movies.
Wow.
Right. And then it talked about Cult of Chucky, which featured a multitude of Chuckies. And at one point, Brad Dourif, he's on camera. There's a lot of people from the making of these movies that are on camera. He says that the doll Chucky is actually more famous than he is. And he's right. Yeah. So pretty much everybody involved with or who worked on these movies is interviewed on camera. The creator and writer, Don Mancini, the producer, several of the actors, Jennifer Tilly, who played the bride of Chucky, Marlon Wayans, Alex Vincent, who played Little Andy in the first 2 movies. He's all grown up now, and he talks about, how much fun he had making the movie.
Was he ever in anything else after that?
No, maybe 1 or 2 things,
right?
but
Yeah.
no. So, but everything you always wanted to know about the Chucky movies is here in Living with Chucky. My only carp is, like the franchise, this movie at times refused to end, but it just kept going on and on. But if you're interested in how movies are made, or if you're just a horror movie fan, I think you'll really dig this. I found it entertaining and informative. I learned a lot. And like all good documentaries, for me, a documentary is successful when it makes you want to go further or dig deeper or revisit the movies that they're all about. So I immediately wanted to kind of check out the Chucky movies that I've never seen after seeing it. So it's it's streaming. It's on a horror streaming service called Screambox.
Yes,
So,
I've heard of Screambox. So it's only on Screambox?
only on Screambox right now. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll
So-
have to wait till it's on something I actually have. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a job I would love to have, perhaps, although I'm sure there's twists and turns in that. The tutor.
The Tutor. Yeah, this is a thriller in the Alfred Hitchcock tradition, which, despite its kind of taut 90-minute runtime, is kind of a slow burning tale of this kind of mysterious tutor played by Garrett Hedlund. Very good here.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, who tutors excessively wealthy parents' kids, let's put it that way. And one day he gets this offer to tutor this billionaire's very odd, apparently on the spectrum, teenage son, played by Noah Schnapp of TV's Stranger Things.
Yes.
Very well cast in this movie because he's just so weird. And that's the setup. And of course, you immediately suspect or expect that the situation this is too good to be true, right? It's way too good to be true. I kind of like this movie. It's getting terrible notices, but it's one of those movies because it's one of those movies, if you think about it too much, it borderline falls apart. For one, this character that Garrett Hedlund plays, the tutor of the title, he just keeps doing these dumb things, and you're going, oh God. I mean, at this point, any normal person would just get the hell out of this situation this guy put himself in. But then there's a twist in the story that when you think about the movie in retrospect, you go, well, maybe a guy with this past would have done these dumb things. I'm still on the fence about the script, by Ryan King, but the direction by Jordan Ross is pretty good. Every frame is like tense in this movie. Even when the characters are doing these mundane things, you feel this weird tension and you go, where the hell is this coming from? What's about to happen? So that's effective. The performances are good. The movie's clearly aping Hitchcock. It lacks the mastery of the medium that even the lesser of the Hitchcock movies just radiate all over the place. And I'm not exactly sure why I like The Tutor. I got caught up enough in it to at least be diverted by it for 90 minutes. I think diehard mystery and thriller fans will find enough in it to enjoy. I think I liked the fact that it was a movie in sharp contrast to all these massive, huge Hollywood CGI blockbusters I have to sit through on what now seemingly a weekly basis. I've got to see at least one or two of these things. So this was a quiet thriller, and it wasn't bad.
Short.
Yeah,
I know it's short. Is it in the theaters only?
Yes, it opens in theaters today. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, we have one more, and it's called Space Oddity.
Yeah, Space Oddity. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Ooh, Kevin Bacon.
I know.
I'm not sure what this movie is other than it's aptly titled, because it's really it's an oddity. It really is. It's being advertised as a romantic comedy science fiction movie, but it really didn't seem to be either one of those things. It's about this young man played by Kyle Allen, who was in a sweet little movie called The Map of Tiny Perfect Things. I think Kim and I talked about this movie back in the day. Anyway, he's obsessed, this young man, with going to Mars. So he hooks up with this organization called the Mission Mars Space Program, a program that's supposed to get humans to Mars or on Mars by 2028, decades ahead of NASA, but which parenthetically may or may not be a legit outfit. And so he trains on a daily basis to travel to Mars, to work there, to live there, and then he says to die there, much to the consternation of his father, played by Kevin Bacon, who owns a flower farm business, which he wants his son to take over. The movie's directed by Bacon's wife, actress Kara Sedgwick.
Oh, I love her.
I really do too.
I do too. And she does a good job with this kind of messy script. Anyway, the plot further, it goes into how this young man is trying to get a life insurance policy, approved for this Mars mission, which introduces the rom-com component, I guess, because the insurance agent is this young woman played by Alexandra Shipp. But this movie is neither a rom-com nor a science fiction movie. It's a story about coming to terms with trauma and facing the pain of trauma. It also has an environmental message, which I think is good. I mean, most people who would tune into your show, Nikki, are probably familiar with anyway, basically that we've reached the point of no return, and that, whatever, humanity as a species probably is going to go extinct by the end of the century. Anyway, so what is space?
Not to bring anybody down on this Friday, but yes, go ahead.
So I'm trying to sum this up. What is Space Oddity? It's Oddity. It's a kind of an offbeat family drama about how this family tragedy has affected this family of four: mother, father, sister, and brother. And it's just odd. It's a weird film. It's not disreputable. Well, it may be, but I'm trying to give it the benefit of the doubt here. It just doesn't completely or satisfyingly land like it should. So I would sort of sum it up as an interesting train wreck with enough, and it's got enough good in it to maybe, give it a go if any of what I said sounded like it might just be your cup of tea.
That's funny. I saw this one headline and it says men will literally contemplate traveling to Mars instead of going to therapy. So,
really? That's how they were describing this movie?
Yes, that's how they.
Yeah, well, that's kind of, it's so weird. It's almost like whoever is marketing this movie doesn't even know how to market it, because it's a drama about dealing with trauma, but everybody's kind of staying away from that, and I think that should have been brought out more. But anyway, whatever.
All right, okay. So we kind of have a mixed bag with the movie. So you're thumbs up for D&D, pretty much. Living with Chucky, you liked, and that you were really interested in it. The Tutor, Hitchcockian thriller, you kind of liked.
I kind of liked it. Yeah.
With Space Oddity, you're like, nah, not really.
I don't know.
So it kind of goes down as we continue the reviews over here.
Yeah,
Started good. Started strong.
I want to give Space Oddity the benefit of the doubt because it is kind of interesting. It's weird. I don't know.
All right. Well, Tim Sika, thank you so much for watching the movies, and we can decide if we're going to watch them ourselves. We will talk to you next Friday, my friend.
All right, Nikki. Yeah, have a good weekend, you guys.
Bye guys. Bye. Oh yeah, I love Tim Sika. He has the best reviews, and he's honest about you might like it for this reason.
He's totally open-minded. I mean, he sat through that whole Chucky documentary, and at the end, he's like, "Hey, if you really like the way movies are learning about how movies are made, you really will like this document." I mean, I love that he's able to, like, maybe it's not his bag, but
you might like it
how
for
someone
this
else
reason.
would like it. That's why he's such a great movie reviewer, because he can really open his mind and kind of put himself into other people's shoes.
Exactly. I absolutely love it about him. And so I'm so glad we have him every Friday. And of course, again, if you want to know, the movies were Dungeons and Dragons, Living with Chucky, The Tutor, like tutoring someone for school, and Space Oddity. All right. I want to say thank you to Rick for the $25 super chat donation.
Yay, Rick,
also,
thank you.
Wes for a $10 donation.
Wes.
And Chris coming back watching it live.
Chris
because he always
B,
watches
welcome
our
home.
replay with a $10 donation. If you guys can donate, we really do appreciate it. You could donate even if you're watching the replay. Just look for the $ under the live chat box. And our biggest source, since we're a crowdfunded show of revenue, is of course our Patreon. So please consider donating. TheNikkiMedoroShow.com Patreon link is there. You can also bump up your Patreon monthly donation. I say just do the math. How much would you pay per show of watching? How much do you enjoy it? And then, multiply it by that. If you like PayPal, exactly. PayPal is the Nikki Medoro Show at gmail.com. Our merch is the Nikki Medoro Shop with a P.com. Have a fabulous dry weekend. I don't think, Kim, we're supposed to get any rain. Maybe Sunday. I'm thinking maybe Sunday, but maybe not in our neck of the woods. I want you to go to bed and feel better. Thank you so much for being here, even though you weren't feeling all that.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you so much.
It's always fun to hang out with you.
There you go. All right, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk on Monday. Bye.
Nikki, you're all so awesome. You're sprout, like a beautiful blossom. You're also the best. I really can't rest. You're all so awesome.
Wow. Okay.